Hello and welcome to my video all about how to knit double garter stitch. This pattern creates a very interesting and cosy texture, and after the setup row it's just a one row pattern repeat, so it's also very easy to remember. Because it's reversible as well, it's great for scarves and blankets. The first thing you need to do is cast on your stitches, and you can cast on any number. I've cast on 16 using the long tail cast on, but you could use your favourite method. We then need to do a setup row, which is a row that we only do once. It's not part of the pattern repeat. We begin this row with one knit stitch. And then we're just going to knit the remaining stitches, except for each knit stitch we're going to wrap the yarn twice around the needle. So take your right hand needle into the stitch to knit it as normal. But instead of wrapping the yarn once, we wrap the yarn twice, like so. And then you just complete the knit stitch as you normally would. You're essentially changing one stitch into two, where one of those stitches is a knit stitch and the other is just the yarn wrapped around the needle. Repeat this all along the row. So take your right hand needle into the next stitch, wrap the yarn twice, and complete the stitch. And so on. As you work along this row, try and make sure that the wraps of yarn are not crossing over each other, and try not to have your tension too tight either. The easiest mistake to make in this pattern is just to forget to wrap the yarn twice. Unfortunately, it's quite difficult to correct that error, so I would recommend putting in a lifeline every so often. After the setup row, your knitting should look a bit like this. You'll know you've got it right because you should now have double the number of stitches you started with minus 1. So I have 31 stitches. At this point, just take a few seconds to make sure that none of the stitches are crossed over each other, and if they are, just uncross them. And now we're going to do the one row pattern repeat. And just like the setup row, we're going to begin with one regular knit stitch. We then need to do a K2 tog or knit two together decrease. To do this, you need to knit together this loose wrap of yarn around the needle plus the next stitch. So take your right hand needle up through both stitches and knit them together. Also, you need to wrap the yarn twice, like so, before completing this stitch. So basically you're doing a K2 tog with 2 yarn wraps. And you just need to repeat this across the row. So knit the next 2 stitches together and do 2 yarn wraps. K2 tog with 2 yarn wraps. And so on. Once again, try and keep your stitches uncrossed. And now your knitting should look something like this. Once again, just take a few seconds to uncross any stitches. And then just repeat this one row over and over as many times as you wish. So that's knit 1, and then repeat knit 2 together with 2 yarn wraps. After repeating this row several times, this is the result. As you can see, you get a horizontal stripe pattern with a crisscross woven effect in between. It's a nice squishy fabric and it has a unique recognisable look. And it's also reversible. This pattern also looks good in 2 colours. To do this, make a loop in the new yarn with the tail at the back. And then just include it in the first knit stitch, like so. At this point, you might want to tie the two yarn tails together just to keep them in place. Then do 2 rows of the pattern, i.e. a right side row and a wrong side row. Once you've completed these 2 rows, you can drop this yarn colour, pick up the previous yarn colour and bring it over like so. You would then knit 2 rows with this colour instead, and just repeat this process as many times as you wish. Lastly, I'm just going to show you how to bring your stitch count down to the number of stitches you started with, so in my case 16. Doing this will allow you to bind off more easily or switch to a different stitch pattern. All you need to do is knit 1 and then K2 tog across the rest of the row, but this time you don't wrap the yarn twice. And this will get you back to the number of stitches you started with. And that's it. I really hope you found this video useful, and thank you very much for watching.